How social and environmental factors affect our lives. A look at Bronfenbrenner's ecological theory in comparison to biopsychosocial paradigm and person and environment perspective by Amy Smith for social implications of medical issues. Instructor Olive on February 9th. The environment and society as a whole affect a person's development throughout their lifespan. A person learns and grows from the people and things in and around them, as well as how these things affect them biologically, psychologically, and socially. There are several scientific models and perspectives that are based on theories of how environment and society affect a person. The Bronfenbrenner's ecological model was developed during the 1970s and 80s by psychologist Yuri Bronfenbrenner. This model evaluates life based on 5 different levels of environmental interactions that contain norms, values, roles, and expectations based on each layer. Bronfenbrenner's theory emphasizes the belief that we must understand a person's experiences both within and between the various levels of the larger ecological system. The first of the 5 layers that directly affects an individual is the microsystem. This layer is the face-to-face, intimate interactions that a person has on a daily basis. This could be the individual's parents and family members, teachers, friends, and peers, and those that live in the neighborhood. My son was diagnosed with ADHD, and while this boy in the picture is not him, he is just as cute. The battle of ADHD is something that many families face as part of their daily life. Severity varies among cases, but the levels of the model that a diagnosed child would face are the same. For an ADHD child, the microsystem would be their parents, teachers, and friends in school and in the neighborhood. These relationships directly affect how the child feels about himself and the environment. Children that receive positive and supportive help from those in this layer will more than likely have more positive lives. The next layer is the mesosystems layer. This layer is made up of the relationships of 2 or more microsystems. For an ADHD child, this would be the rules set out by the parents and teachers, the expectations of the child to perform, and perhaps the norms of the peers he chooses to socialize with. The third layer is the exosystems layer. These are events or items that are out of the child's control. If a child's parent loses their job, which in turn means the loss of insurance, the child may be forced to stop seeing a physician or taking medications. This could be very detrimental to an ADHD diagnosed child. They have no control but are directly affected. The fourth layer is the macrosystems. This is the larger elements of the culture or society that the child lives in. If the country is undeveloped, the child may not receive the medical care needed, or if laws and customs prevent the child from receiving special help he may need in school, he may not develop appropriately. The final layer of Bronfenbrenner's model is chronosystems. These are profound events that occur throughout life that affect development. Examples of these are the child's parents divorcing, or if the country they live in is at war. The biopsychosocial model was developed in the late 1990s by George Engel and was looked at as a new way of looking at health by combining the biological, psychological, and social elements of the patient's health. The biopsychosocial model is a holistic approach that looks at all aspects of health. According to the text, Social Implications of Chronic Illness and Disability, the biopsychosocial model challenges medical professionals to enter the patient's world and to understand how sociological and psychological factors both shape that person's experience of health, illness, and disability, and because it emphasizes prevention, lifestyle factors, and holistic health over the life course, the biopsychosocial model is particularly well equipped to target chronic diseases. The biopsychosocial model differs from Bronfenbrenner's model because it does not take the environment into consideration when looking at health conditions. The model also looks at the individual alone rather than in conjunction to the people, places, and things around them that affect their development. Referring back to the young boy with ADHD, this model would be an approach of looking at his treatment as a whole, combining medication, therapy, and classroom accommodations to help the child develop appropriately. The Person and Environment Model, or PI, was developed in the 1980s as a new approach to social work. The concept of the approach is that a person and their environment are intertwined and affect each other, and is a holistic approach that looks at the factors of mental and physical health as well as social roles and environment. According to Weiss Gale, it views the individual and his or her environments as forming an ecosystem consisting of the individual, all the systems with which the individual has reciprocal relationships, the wider environment in which the individual acts, and all of the mutual interrelationships that occur between the individual and the various subsystems. The PI approach is similar to Bronfenbrenner's model because it takes into account the environment in which the person interacts and the people that they interact with. It may not take into account the larger scale elements like whether or not the country is at war and how it affects them. For the boy with ADHD, this would look very similar to the first few layers of Bronfenbrenner's model because it would include interactions with family, friends, and teachers, as well as the interactions of these environments. It also takes into account the holistic approach of handling an individual by accounting for physical, mental, and social health. All three of these theories take into account that a person develops based on outside elements, and that these elements may be people, places, and things. Being aware of how these things affect an individual can ultimately help physicians and other resources help to ensure that a person develops in the manner best suited for them. Thank you very much.